What is up, y'all? Welcome back. It is week 4 of the 12 weeks of progression, and today, as you can see, I am sitting down. Why? Well, today we are going to not focus too much on the movement. We are more going to focus on the mind. I thought it was just a good idea to also take in some time to work on some classes where we focus more on the mindset behind a certain thing, and yeah, getting just that theoretical information in as well, because dance is not only about the physical aspect, which we of course all know, which we have also been talking about in the classes in the 30 days of dance as well. But I've never really taken a moment to sit down for you guys and have a conversation about a certain topic that you are interested in, which today is going to be battles. So if you've seen me dance before, if you've seen me somewhere before, it is very possible that that is in battles, that is where you got to know me from. I've been very active in the battle scene from 2011, where I started doing, 2010 I started doing my first battles. In 2011 I started to do it regularly. 2012 I got into a bigger stage with me participating in Summer Dance Forever. That was in August 2012, where I ended up getting to, I believe, the semifinals against Junior Boogie, which of course ended up blowing up and ended up helping me to start a career as a dance teacher, and actually first battle dancer traveling over the world. And then from there I ended up becoming a teacher as well. So yeah, battles did something very special for me in my dance. It gave me a platform, a place where I was able to show myself, share my vision of dance and what I really liked and saw value in, or just liked in dance basically, and was able to share that with more people through battles. And I've had a lot of questions about it. You also asked me if I could cover some things, if I could cover something about battles in the classes. So for some people this might be very interesting, for other people this might be not really your cup of tea, or not something that you want to focus on. Nonetheless, hopefully I can just share a lot of different things with you guys inside of this class, but also in the other classes, so that every month everyone has something that is of value. Like I said, it's not always about the movement. Pretty much so, if I only dance and only focus on my movement but never take the time to actually understand my mindset behind the movement, understand culture, history, music, which is all happening in here, right? And in here, then the movement is useless. It's empty. It is like an empty glass that needs to be filled up with something, because otherwise it's useless. Technique is like an empty glass. It is the shell, but we need something in that shell so that it's actually useful. And so I'm here. So I'm gonna just share my thoughts on battles. I'm gonna share some technical aspects on how I, for instance, prepare for battles, what I do exactly, what are the exercises that I'm going through, what is my personal mindset in battles, how do I work with anxiety, how do I see battles in the bigger spectrum of just the culture, and so on and so on. So that's what I'm going to cover in this class. And there is going to be some movement eventually. When I talk about the exercises, I will show you how it works, but it's not going to be as technical based on a certain foundational element or a specific technique. This is more so about hopefully helping you guys to find your own way in either battles or in dance in general, by giving you a small portion of my own perspective, my own philosophy, and my own experience of this section of the dance culture. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with the beginning, where I started myself. I will try to do it as quick as possible, because maybe that is not really that interesting, but I guess it's also good for me to cover that, so that I maybe can get to certain points in my journey where things start to make sense and they can become valuable for you as well. Okay, so I started dancing 20 years ago. My mom is a singer, my dad is a bass player. They used to have a gospel band, and they would basically travel from country to country, mostly in Europe, but we also went to New York to just share their passion for music, for gospel music. And that of course influenced me heavily to dance as well, because what is a kid gonna do if he hears music? Of course he's going to move. That's where it started for me. Of course, I had a lot of inspirations besides James Brown and Michael Jackson and the You Got Served movie that I used to watch, which really inspired me to do battles. You know, it was actually not my high school time, my kindergarten times in the last classes where my friends and I started battling against each other during the breaks, you know. As in, when I say breaks, I mean the breaks of school, right? We had a break, we'd go outside and play on a playground, and we decided to battle because we saw it on TV. And that is kind of, yeah, where it really started for me to get this love for dance, because I was also sharing it with other people. At a certain point, I was the only one who continued dancing. I moved on, and started to just go to cyphers inside of children clubs. I was not that old. Like from 16 to 18, I went to clubs for kids basically, and I would just battle over there and go into the cyphers over there because that's what I saw on TV, and that eventually then led me into seeing battles in the Netherlands happen. Wanted to join them as well. One of the first ones that I did, just gotta give a little shout out, was Express Yourself, probably 2010, maybe even 2009, where I did those battles, all style battles back then, meaning every style was welcome. That's how we approached it ourselves in our scene. And well, yeah, I was not the best dancer, that's for sure. As in, I was not the best competitive dancer. I enjoyed the heck out of myself, which is extremely important, because being a good dancer basically is really about how you express yourself, of course, not as much as how well you can use your physicality always, you know. But competitively, no, I was not the best dancer at that point in time. A lot of people were very open to me, and it was really amazing to connect with the different dancers and actually become a part of a community, because I would go from battle to battle just to join and participate and see people that I knew. Oh, yo, you know, we saw them in the last battle. Hey, you know, how you doing? And from there on out, going to more battles, you get more involved with the culture, which was really, really nice, and a really nice journey of getting to know new people and becoming a part of this huge culture that I am now also definitely still a part of. However, in that time, I could not 100% connect with everybody, mainly because I did not have the knowledge of culture like that, you know. I didn't have the knowledge of even the styles, just the difference between hip hop, popping, locking. You know, I knew a little, I saw a little, you know, I saw Don Campbell, I saw those kind of things, I saw Skeeter Rabbit, but like their respected history and everything, I didn't know of at that time. And honestly, in that time, 2011, 2010, 2009, those 3 years, there were people that knew, but it was definitely still on the rise within my age category, and definitely still something we all had to learn from that time on, you know. So that meant that as I would dance there, I couldn't 100% connect to the dancers, because my dance was a mix basically of everything that I saw on TV, that I saw, you know, wherever, or I experienced myself. And it was not so much grounded and embedded into like the history of the dance and the culture and the knowledge of the music and stuff like that. And that's fine, you know. I did get laughed at a certain time because I was a really goofy kid when it came to battling. I had interesting outfits, you could say, you know, the knee pads over the pants. Yes, I was one of those. I was one of those knee pads over the pants guys. And if you are one of those guys right now, don't worry, man. It's okay. Just you can keep them there if you want to, you know. No worries about that. But I was one of those, you know, I was one of those do a flip during my round guys. And if you are that guy, don't worry about it, that's fine. The reason why I say that is because those flips can seem random at times, and they often don't connect to the music or the dance itself. So that's why it's often seen as pretty funny if someone tries to do a flip in order to make an impact, as opposed to really diving into the skill of dance, of the technical side of dance as well, you know. Not that flips cannot be dance, but it's hard. I was one of those guys, and I was laughed at for it, which is fine, but it did fuel me. It did bring a fire into me, you know. I really wanted to I was just really competitive. I came from sports and came from martial arts as well, you know, and so competition was just something really fun to me, and games. It was just really fun to me. So I wanted to become better and loved having small goals in order to small goals to work towards in my dance, as opposed to you know, besides expressing myself, it was just really fun to be able to check off certain things off my list. Like, okay, now I'm, you know, here, now I'm there. It was a game to me. It was like Pokemon and going to the different gyms, you could say, like that kind of feel, you know. So it wasn't that serious to me, but it was really, really fun. From there on out, I started to train a lot. I traveled. My dad was, I was very fortunate to have a supporting dad because he is doing music as well. So he helped me traveling, and he would do his own work because he has his own company, an electronics company. So he could sometimes travel to a certain place, and I would be able to come with him and then search for a battle in that same district. That happened a few times. I went to Germany, to the UK, to SDK, Street Dance Camp, in Czech Republic, you know. Yeah, I went to some places and tried to participate in those battles. And even though I wasn't getting through the pre-selections, I was connecting with people. I got to know cultures in different places, and that is extremely important, you know. That is the beauty of you know, the battles. That is the beauty of this whole culture. It's not about the winner, it's about your experience, you know. And at that time, winning was not possible in my experience, but I still enjoyed the heck out of my travels because I got to know so many new people and was able to just learn and gain experience, you know. So traveling is definitely, would definitely be a must if it would be possible again, financially wise, and of course, you know, with this whole lockdown happening everywhere. So hopefully that is something that can come back to life, hopefully. Yeah, so from there on out, I learned a lot through going to those camps, you know, mainly actually from seeing dancers participate in the battles, mainly from experiencing dance in cyphers at a party. That's where I really got my experience from. That helped me to express myself more vividly towards people, as opposed to just doing the classes. The classes are very, very useful. I gained a lot of knowledge from classes, not only for my own movement, but also for understanding how to communicate with people, how to become a good teacher, and those kind of things. So definitely every experience is something that you can put in your bag that is going to help you to that next step, always, you know. And yeah, with that knowledge, I started practicing more. I remember seeing this girl, Alex is her name, Alexandra Carson. I remember being at a dance camp with her, and she was writing down stuff, and I was like, what are you actually writing down after every class, after every dance class? Like, why are you writing stuff? I know now it's normal, but back then I was like, what are you doing? You know? And, you know, she showed me her notes and said, you know, I'm just going over the stuff that I learned from the classes so that I don't lose it. I was like, whoa, for real? Yeah, that makes so much sense, you know, because I was writing down stuff, philosophy for martial arts and just life, but I didn't implement it into dance that much yet. So when I saw her writing stuff down in the class, I thought, oh snap, I gotta do that too. So I just started writing information down, and that's where it all started for me. I'm gonna just skip and fast forward. I started to build knowledge, information, first through the classes that I got and started to practice those specific things. Then by trying to dissect it and understand where they categorize, like what kind of information is this? And what would that do for my dance? Where does it benefit me? And eventually I started building my own information, my own dance, my techniques, my exercises. Ended up getting in touch with my partner Dimension, who we built a huge spectrum of techniques that I've been sharing with you guys here in the 30/ eventually 42 classes with you. Yeah, so I've been building that for several years now, and that has definitely changed my life forever. And how it changed me dance-wise and battle-wise is that I now had a base that I could work on, something that I had and understood. You know, I could work on it, go into a battle and see how I would apply this stuff that I know inside of a battle, as opposed to just moving in the battle without any thought. Just, I'm just gonna express myself and then come out and try to look at, what happened in the battle without something to compare it to, That makes it really difficult. So having that base of information that I could take, put in the battle and come back with, and I'm not talking about set moves or something, or set combos. I'm actually talking about anything that we were talking about in the 30 days of dance, like the techniques, the mindset, the movement. These things I started to try and implement in my rounds, and it ended up actually benefiting me. Funny enough, in that time where I started writing a lot and always had my little book with me everywhere I was, not a lot of people supported that way of I guess, experiencing dance. It was always, the response was always, you just gotta dance, what are you doing, you gotta feel it, you know what I'm saying? And for me, it was like, I am feeling it, and I want to document my feelings. What's so weird about that, So, documented my feelings, and eventually I started winning the exact battles that I was losing. I was laughed at. It was 3 battles that are still up on YouTube. Dance to Rock, IBE, which I did twice, I believe, but I'm not sure. Maybe I won once. Maybe once. IBE, and what was the other one? Express Yourself. I also won that one. Yeah, so battles that I used to do and then got laughed at, now I was participating and I was actually winning them. So that just felt amazing. It was like, whoa, this stuff that I couldn't do before and was laughed at, now after practicing my stuff, coming back to it and getting that knowledge in that round, it actually works. And now I'm actually kind of redeeming what happened before, and that just felt really, really good. And then from there, it just really took off. Like I said, 2012, I did Summer Dance Forever. It's a really interesting thing because I was not ready to participate in Summer Dance Forever. Summer Dance Forever is one of the biggest battles, if not, one of the biggest battles, probably biggest 2, Just to Boo and Summer Dance. Definitely the biggest solo participating battle in the world. And I participated in 2011 once, and it was a disaster. I fell on my face during a flip. I know I was trying to, was it 2010? Either way, I was trying to do the flip and messed up. It was terrible. So then 2012, I was like, okay, I know I'm not ready to participate in this. And I know, all these other dancers have so many skills, they got everything, and I'm not ready for this yet. But I believe that if I don't do it now, there's this rust, you could say, or this experience that I have not built up yet, so that, or this experience that I have not built up yet, which means that even if I wait for 3-4 years to participate in my first battle, because then I think I'm ready, I still have to go through have to build my experience, which I could have done in those 3 years, even though I was not ready in my own mind. So I said, I'm gonna just go and take this loss, because losses are gonna give me experience, more experience than a win can actually give me. I gotta take these L's because the W is gonna come out of that eventually. W meaning a win. And so I thought, I'm gonna just go there and take my L. Let's go. I'm gonna take it like a man, and it's actually gonna help me forward. I participated, and I went through the pre-selection. So I was like, okay. I was not ready for this, and now all eyes are on me, and I have to dance in front of like thousands of people, and I'm not ready for this. Oh shit. Cool. I do my first round. This was against Jimmy. You can look all of this up. Was against Jimmy Udot, who was back then actually a very big inspiration for me when it came to groove, because his groove was very, had a lot of style, a lot of sauce to it. It was not blend, it was not step, 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 not a continuous running man as some people were doing at that time. It was like he had his own personality to it, and that was inspiring to me. Like, yo, you gotta get that groove like that. Not like him, but your own, Cool. Participate, I get off, I dance, I don't know what happened, something happened, I lose my mind, woohoo, we do what we do, and I end up winning, and I'm like, wait, what? Everyone's like, yo, Kev, you made it. I'm like, nah, bro, you don't understand. I'm not ready for this. Now I need to do another round, but I'm not ready. When do these people see that I'm not ready? So I do my next round against Samuel Udot. It was a tie, and then after the tie, I win again. And I'm like, oh, no. This is great. But the funny thing is, in the judge panel, another one of my big inspirations was judging that year, which was Junior Boogie. And so I had to pick a judge. I picked Junior Boogie. Of course, I was so happy that I could pick him. Like it was literally perfect. And I don't know, I feel like that is how life works. When you work towards something, when you put a lot of effort and energy in something, that effort and energy is going to carry you eventually, you know? Even for instance, when I messed up my ankle and I couldn't dance, I couldn't battle for maybe 2-3 years, the work that I had put in the years before was still coming back, was still giving me opportunities to do something with dance. Way after I was the main, conversation in battles or the main conversation in dance. Meaning, whatever work you are doing in your dance, if you are really devoted, if you are expressing, if you are honest with yourself, putting in the honest work, it will come back, because any energy that you put out, any energy has a response to it. It might not be the one that you hope or want, but it will always and forever have a response. Always. That's just a fact. May it be in the body, in the mind, or in your surrounding, as in your environment, it will always have a response. Cool. Boom. So it felt like it was meant to be, deeply meant to be, and I felt that. And so that moment was really special for me. We battled it out, blah, 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 everything said and done. And afterwards, right after I got asked to do my first guest invited battle in France, Sergi Original Floor, which you can also find. This, I believe, still 2012. Don't worry, I'm not gonna go over all my battles. This is just it. I'm just saying that's how it started for me. Traveling, letting myself do those battles, and even if I knew like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready, but setting specific goals for myself that I could work on myself during the battles, so that I could see growth in myself, even if I didn't get the W, the win, and then eventually to take the step of going to bigger battles just to gain experience and let basically life tell me when it is the time, instead of me holding myself back to think that I would exactly know when it would be my time, because you literally never really know, and that's how it started for me. From there it was traveling, from there it was participating, and so on and so on and so on. I don't know how many battles I won or how many battles I lost. I know I didn't lose a lot, but I don't know how many battles I actually won. And honestly, it's not the most important thing, but I do have a love for trophies. Sounds really weird, I know. I have a very big love for trophies, because that's what my mom instilled in me when I was a kid. As I was playing basketball, she was like singing on the side, "Trophy, Kev, think about it, trophy," and that shit just got into me so deeply that until this day, it don't matter if the battle is big or small, it has to have a trophy, because that is what I like. Then I go to my mom and show her the new trophy. It just feels good. It's just fun, and that is how I will always see a battle. It is fun, It is fun, it is challenging, it is a growing experience, but it is not needed in order for you to be successful, or in order for you to be able to do something valuable with dance. Battles is not the place for everybody. Sometimes it's a different place, and it's really important to go over the different options, battles, ciphers, on theater, choreography camps, and so on, going over those different sections to figure out which community you feel the most and which one you like the most, or maybe you like all of them, which is in my case, So yeah, that is where it started for me. Now I would like to take a moment to talk about what I think is nice about battles and what is valuable to me, and what to me is also a bit of a danger at this point in time. From there on out, I'm going to talk about my mindset, about how I prepare, and then eventually give you some exercises on how you could prepare for battles more consciously so that you can actually go there and leave with something, as opposed to always feeling empty after you leave because I didn't make the pre-selection and that kind of stuff. Okay, and for those people who don't want to battle, hopefully this story time and this information can also give you some insights, maybe get you interested to try it out for yourself and connect with that community, or just give you an insight on how it is, and hopefully maybe with the exercises gain a more better understanding and perspective on what it could take to use dance not only for an expression but also have dance become a competitive factor, meaning there's just other things that can come with it. Okay, so the beauty about battles is how basically in this social media time and everything, it brings people together from all the world, you know. That doesn't happen in ciphers or sessions. It does happen, of course, in workshops, you know, definitely, but workshops are more of a learning place, whereas battles are an open space for whatever you want it to be. I can be a competitor, I can be a viewer and just have an enjoying experience. I can come to the ciphers and actually learn or exchange, and I can learn to get to know people. There's so much that you can obtain basically, or experience and feel inside of a battle. So that is really, really beautiful. And of course, through battles, we have been able to bring our underground scene basically to its own respected light, wherein we get new stars and new people who can then, if they worked very, very hard on their craft, actually also make it a profession, which is really beautiful, you know, which is it's just beautiful, basically. A danger, in my opinion, in the battles is that there is now, of course, a big growing new generation who comes into dance through just battles. So that is the only thing that they see, that is what they know, that is what they strive for, and that is where they see themselves ending up. And with that, competitiveness and the competition of dance becomes very much more in the forefront and more, bigger, as opposed to storytelling, expression, and really finding your own, I guess, group to dance with, you know. Of course, this still very much exists, and there's more than enough people who push this narrative and try to help in that section and make sure that that stays alive. And competition is not bad at all. But if I learn through competition, through the music of competition, the dance really just gets diluted and watered down. You know, it doesn't have to happen, but that is a big possibility, because now I am learning through basically a small portion of movement, you know, of a small portion of dancers and of how they, you know, perceive dance. 1 minute rounds, and that's what I see, you know, 1 minute of a song that are based on trying to give something that you can, I guess, perform to in 1 minute, meaning a lot of instrumental aspects that we can use for beat kills, and so on, you know. And because of that, it does happen, or it can happen, that as we go further, you know, more hype comes into movement and less culture. You know, the culture moves a little bit out of it. The personalities, not based on battles, because you can of course have a battle personality, but you as a person are not always competitive in everything you do, meaning that we kind of can lose those kind of things along the way as well, giving less room for different ways of expression of hip hop, freestyle, and dance in general. You know, so that is to me a bit of the danger. That doesn't have to happen, but there's definitely dancers who are in that spectrum of movement where they kind of evolve everything around that battle. And then there's of course dancers who live outside of it as well and just bring their information from outside into the battle, which is fine. You know, in the end, it's just like life. You have people that do this, people that do that, and as long as everyone is happy, then honestly there is no problem. And for us, as long as the culture is preserved and it can actually move on and we can continue to build, then there is no problem, only preference, you know? Another thing that is a little bit problematic when it comes to battles and people growing up inside of battles is the whole mentality of there being one winner is a bit dangerous. Actually, you know, the whole mentality of, you know, one takes all, and that, you know, that person is now put on a pedestal, where dance is art, you know, and equality, and honestly, comparing yourself makes no sense at times. You know, we should not always compare ourselves. That is not the purpose, or at least not my purpose of dancing, you know? So, and of course in battles, that is definitely a main thing that is happening. So people learn, younger generation dancers learn to, you know, level themselves with other and see if they are better or worse, and that is just, to me, not a spectrum or a perspective that you want to be in, seeing that there's only one person that is going to win that battle every single time. And that's just a waste. Imagine that everyone would feel shitty after a battle and then that one person would be happy. What the heck is that for community? You know, I'm not saying that is happening, but if putting it to the extremes, you know, there is one person and then the rest is, you know, yeah, has to be okay with not that. And the rest is, of course, okay with not that. But there is definitely kids that have a hard time when it comes to that stuff. So that is a danger, and that is definitely something that needs to be tackled through mindset, through mentality that you have when you go into the battle, which is the next section that I would talk about, which is my personal mentality, why I do battles, how I go into them with what mindset, and what mindset I have always used that has benefited me the most personally, or work-wise, or just even battle-wise, because I'm competitive. I am participating to try and be the very best I can be, and I like winning. It's fun to win, you know, it's a game. It's a fun game to win. And so, yeah, of course, that part of the mentality is going to be also something that I'm going to talk about. It's probably not going to be what you expect it to be. For some, yes. For others, no. But it is mine, and hopefully you can get something from it. First things first, when I started battling, the most important thing that I did, and the most important aspect of my mentality, was that I was not focused on the win. I was focused on being the best version of myself every single moment. Sounds super cliche and super corny, but to actually put that focus right there for a lot of people is very difficult. You know, it's easy to step into that round and let the music dictate what is going to happen. Let the people around you dictate it. Let the judges and the opponent dictate what you are going to take away from that battle. If he does something I don't like, maybe I take away that, man, he was an asshole, man, and he won the round. Oh, I wish I could, you know. Or if the crowd doesn't respond too much to me, man, they don't understand what I'm doing, you know, or they don't feel me, or they don't even support me, or man, I guess I'm whack, you know. Or the judges, if they don't choose me, or whatever, you know. Letting so many factors dictate my movement and dictate what I'm going to do and what I am going to experience in that dance is dangerous. It's really, to me, it's dangerous, because I would just always go there not knowing what another person is going to, I'm laying myself into another person's hands, because I don't know what they're going to do. I cut off my own sentence, you know? And so when I went into the battles, I had the mindset of, what is the win that I can get myself? What can I get? What can I do to gain something, some experience from this battle that I can take with me? What W can I get myself? I don't focus on the bigger W. That will come when the time is there. Everything will come when the time is there. That is my mentality. If I have put in 100% and this is my result, all I can do is accept and continue. So mentality is, I work as hard as I can. I go in there and do what I can. I've worked 100%. There's not more that I could do, meaning the result that will come is it. Cool. and then from there we move on and we move to the next one. So I was able to accept because of that, because I knew my 100% would end up helping me grow. Me referring back and looking back at battles, seeing what was happening and responding to that in the next one by adjusting stuff will help me to grow as well and gain experience. And as long as I keep 100%, I will always know for a fact that I will grow to something, and that whatever outcome I get, that is exactly what it needs to be in that moment. So accepted, let's move on, and so going into the battle saying, okay, today I want to just focus on my pre-selection. Pre-selection is a round of dancing that you do before you actually get picked to be inside of the battles. So most of the times there are 16 people that get chosen. They will battle against each other until the last final, and then you have, of course, the winner. And then before the top 16, you have a pre-selection where there's maybe like 50 to sometimes 300 to sometimes 800 people who basically perform solo for 1 minute to show their dance, and the judges decide who they think would fit this battle best and who showed the best skill or whatever in that skill in that pre-selection. So that's, of course, the first hurdle. Okay, got to get my pre-selections right. So all I would do is just work on my pre-selections, go to a battle. I don't care if I go through yes or no. What I want to focus on for myself is I want to have this done in my pre-selection, or I want to focus on building up maybe from the legs and then move up to the body and then to the arms, or maybe I want to have one highlight that I want to get in there so that I know that I can do that. Maybe I want to focus on my character. I would place small challenges for myself inside of the battles that I could then achieve, and that would be my personal win, so that I didn't need anything else. I don't need you. I don't need the crowd. I don't need, you're there and I'm expressing myself towards you, yes, but I don't need your validation, and you're not the one who is going to make me happy after I finish my battle. That is me and myself focusing on this little goal that I had and seeing if I can actually achieve it. And trust me, when you achieve such a small goal inside of a battle, that is the best feeling ever, because that is a feeling of, hey, I am in total control of what I'm doing right now. I am in total control of my expression, my dance, my body. Of course, there's a lot of things that I wanted to do different, blah, blah, blah. But I am in control of what the focus point is. And I don't go in clueless and without any understanding of where I am going towards, with any path or direction. I have a direction, and I can see how I move towards it or have difficulties moving towards it, and from there I can grow. So that focusing on the small dubs instead of the big one was one of the most important things that I did in my dance, and definitely something that I would advise anybody who goes into battles and wants to do battles with a certain progressive aspect to it, with actually focusing on progressing in your movement and your dance, and hopefully eventually becoming better inside of battles. Yeah, that is definitely important, in my opinion and in my experience. Yeah, another aspect of my mentality when it comes to, for instance, anxiety is very straightforward, because I get a lot of questions about anxiety and how to deal with, that moment where you feel nervous or you can't get your movement out the right way because you want to do everything at the same time. You feel rushed. You don't know how to deal with 1 minute. La da 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 da. Of course, there's a lot of things that you can do. But one thing that helped me is very simple: accepting. Accepting that I am going to feel nervous. Accepting that this is not a walk in the park. It is an actual challenge. Accepting that I am going to feel challenged and pressured in this moment by the judges, by the music, by the people, by my opponent. I am going to can feel a certain pressure. It's possible. And as I accept that every single time I go into a battle, when it actually happens and I feel something, I feel nerves, I am ready for it, like, oh, there you are. And because I am ready for it, because I knew it was coming, because I am anticipating it, it is now manageable for me. At least that's how it worked for me. It was manageable because I knew that it would come, and I kind of signed up for it. Like, okay, I'm signing up for this one. I'm signing up for going through this shit again, having to dance in front of so many people. I am signing up for it. And as I put my sign down there, I know what's in the contract. I know what's going to happen. I know the side effects of what I'm taking, you know. Knowing them, they don't come as a surprise, so I can kind of deal with them better. And that really, really helped me. For me, what was one of the difficult parts of battling was finding the sweet spot where everything works for me. You know, you have so many things you do in practice that eventually when you then want to do it in battle, it just feels like it doesn't come out, you know? It just feels like it doesn't work for you, or you are maybe like 10% of what you actually practice. Like, yo, I got so much stuff, but then here, I don't even feel like myself at this point. You know what I mean? And so to overcome that was really hard for me. And honestly, I still haven't overcome it completely. I've accepted it and can move because of that, can move forward because of that acceptance. But I did find my mindset and where I place myself in order to, I guess, feel more comfortable with the moment, I guess, you know, because that's what it is. It is just a moment, and we cannot express our whole history of dance, everything that we did, everything that we practiced in one moment of 1 minute. It's not possible. So of course you're never going to be satisfied, you know. But what I found out is that having a rhythm, having a ritual, or having, I guess, you know, a ritual, something that you go through, or a way you go about your day, the things that work for you, is very important. And the funny thing is, recently I figured out that that is the same for for instance, sport. You know, dance is an art form. It's not a sport. For some people it is, but it is that is what it is. For me, it's an art form. In sport, for instance, if let's say with basketball, they have to do their free throws, you know, they always have a same little sequence that they do every single time when they do their free throw, because that is what I guess gets them into a certain rhythm, feels like home, feels comfortable, and it just, you know, I guess triggers something in them that is familiar in a way. And so I started searching for that as well, you know. Do I cipher or do I not cipher? To cipher, not to cipher. Do I call someone out in battle in the beginning of it, or don't I? Do I eat a lot in the morning, or do I not eat a lot in the morning if I go to a battle? Because maybe, you know, do I need the energy or not? You know, what do I wear? Do I always wear the same or different things? Shoes? Do I stretch? Do I not stretch? And so on and so on. Do I listen to music? So many different things that I was thinking of, which for some people is not even needed. They just have this naturally. It's like, oh, you know, I just go to a battle and I just dance. It's whatever, you know, and that's fine. But for me, it was hard to find that sweet spot of, okay, this is how I feel most comfortable when I actually enter, because that's what I want. I want to feel the best I can feel when I enter. I don't want to already come in with certain, you know, anxieties or certain feels or whatever. So for instance, I don't session before I battle. And why I do that is because when I session, I build up a certain feeling, a certain expression, a certain emotion with that music. I choose when I dance, oh, I love this song, so now I choose to dance to this moment, and so on and so on. You know, I build energy. When I go into the battle, that energy is completely different. It's a different energy, it's different people. Everyone looks at you, you're the only one in the spotlight. It's completely different. And so I didn't like that change in feeling. That was just my personal thing. I don't like the change between this and this. And some people can take their cipher into the battle, you know, which is nice. I can't. I just can't. I perform and express differently in a cipher, in a battle, as opposed to a cipher, you know. And so it was a long search, and it still is a search for me to find my own rhythm. But I did find my own mentality that really has helped me, and that is what I'm going to share with you now. It is this emptiness. I come from a martial arts background. I was not an amazing martial artist or whatever, but I was influenced by a lot of martial arts as a kid. I practiced it myself, here and there by myself, as well as going to a school for Thai box, you know, and trying to do Taekwondo as well. Again, not an expert in any of it, so don't worry about that. You can find my name anywhere on the list of like, oh, he was a black belt or whatever. Nope. But the philosophy of certain things, and then especially of course the movies as well as a kid, influenced me deeply, you know. And emptiness was a very big thing in the philosophy of, for instance, Jeet Kune Do, the philosophy of Bruce Lee's type of martial arts, basically. He talks about, of course, the water being like water, empty, or being empty, sorry, being formless, shapeless like water. Put it into the cup, it becomes the cup. Put it into the teapot, becomes the teapot. Emptiness is kind of the same thing. Emptiness is nothing, and inside of nothing, everything is possible. For instance, there is more nothingness between our atoms than there is actual atoms, right? So this chair is made of more nothingness than actual physical atoms, which is really, really strange. It's a very strange concept. You know, there is more space in the universe than actual things, more space, more nothingness than actual tangible, you know, things. Wow, that is crazy. And so to me, nothingness is very special because that is where everything can exist, right? If I empty myself, I am now a vessel of whatever is going to happen, of whatever is going to come. And so that is what I strive for now when I go to a battle, to be completely empty so that whatever I need to come out will come out by itself. A flow state, it just has to do it itself. You know, I practiced, this takes trust, by the way, a lot of trust, to not think, okay, what do I got, what can I do, what did I prepare for, you know, try to get a vibe, I don't need to get anything. All I need is to just go there, know that I have worked, and trust the things that I have done in the past. Trust that whatever I need will come to me, and that is exactly what it is, and that's okay. If I practice 100%, I can trust that whatever needs to come from that will. You know, if I practice 50%, then maybe I have to accept that and trust that I'm only going to get from that pool of 50, I'm going to be able to pull from. So it's less, for instance. And so that emptiness of just that nothingness, that is what is my mindset. I want to be empty so that I can be filled up with whatever energy is thrown at me in that moment, ready for anything, like an empty canvas, you know. I don't know if it's a philosophy, honestly, but when I think of a canvas and it's empty, to me that means there's everything. Why? Because I can literally paint everything in the universe on that canvas. But the second I stain that canvas with my pen or with my brush, now I have to respond to what is on that canvas, meaning that I have to make something, create an image around what is already created. And so it becomes limited to what I have on the canvas. If it's red, it's limited to something that I'm gonna make with red. Of course, it's still an infinite amount of possibilities, but it will always be related to that. And so when I battle, I try to be empty. I don't wanna have nothing. I just let everything pass me. My feelings, my everything. And that really, really helps me and gets me into a very special state wherein I feel very comfortable with what happens, even if it's not winning a battle. And I'm very happy. I just feel thankful for the moments that I'm there and to be able to experience this moment right now, you know, because that's all there is. And that's just very beautiful to experience during a battle where so many people either feel anxiety or feel the need to prove themselves or the need to compete or put up an act or, you know, act accordingly to the battle. Luckily, not me. It's just a nice playground. Besides that, for me, battles are a part of my mentality. Battles are very, very important to me because they are a place where I can challenge myself, a place where I can express conflict in my life, but then through battle. This battle means more to me than just winning. It is me putting my personality, my character, my life, my past, my future, putting it on the line and putting myself in that place where I have to confront myself every single time and see if I can deal with it, you know, see how I deal with it. It's almost like problem solving, you could say, you know, partly. and that is just something really special to me, because it's makes it a, my mindset at least makes it a very personal experience and a very personal journey, as opposed to one of, I guess, trying to feed off of the crowd and show something. Of course, I love sharing, I love it so much, but the happiness that I feel after the battle is from myself and myself alone, and what I have done and what I can be thankful for in that moment. So yeah, that is how I perceive battles. That is my mentality in battles. Now let's take a moment to talk about different types of battlers, or how people can stand in battles and finding your own way, which is really important. And two, criteria on battles, on what you could think, what could be something people would look for when they when you were participating in a battle. Because if you don't know that, maybe you never understand why you don't pass, or why you don't even know what I'm not going to say what you're lacking, but what you're not showing, what other people are maybe judging on, because that's in the end the name of the game. Okay, so what I just talked about was my mentality in battles. But there is, of course, a different way of seeing for everybody. Everyone sees battles in a different way, and they enjoy or experience it in a different way, And I think one of the most important things in the battle is to find yourself where you I won't say belong, but where you feel most yourself and most comfortable. I myself am not. Though I like competition, I am not a fiend for the experience of conflict with another dancer. To me, competition is not per se about the trash talking, basically, or about truly trying to talk to another dancer and show them that I am better. And if I can't do it with movement, I'll make sure that I play the game right with doing it with actions, by saying certain things or making certain gestures. So for some people, battling has to have a certain, I wouldn't say aggressive, but more, let's just say a more aggressive approach to how you really battle against another person. And for others, maybe it's more of an exchange where they just want to express themselves and have a conversation with the other dancer. Or maybe for another, it's a freaking performance. It's not even about, trying to be better. It's just about a performance for a crowd. And so I think finding yourself in that is very, very important, because that will help you to then also find the movement that fits you inside of a battle as well. Of course, it is fun to have a big spectrum of different ways of moving, different ways of expressing yourself, and so on. But I think in the end, for everybody, there is a unique feeling to battling. And I think the closer you get to that unique feeling, the better you become aware of what it is that you have, or that you can give inside of that battle. So I already said it a little bit. There are different types, you could say, of battlers. You have, for instance, the exchangers, the people who love to exchange, and with them, for me, it's often really about the essence of their movement and where their movement comes from. So I could think of Martha, for instance, Martha Nabuire. If I think of her dancing, her dance in itself, and a certain moment, just the movement that she does, in essence, that's what gets me. It's the story behind her movement, or you could say the experience of herself as a person that she puts into her movement. That is what touches you. It's not per se musicality, or a character persona that she puts up. She's just being herself, and she's expressing what she feels to the music. And if she feels battle, she battles. If she feels love, she loves. And that is what to me is her strength, her beauty. That's her story, And then there's, of course, another, which is maybe more like, you could say a power mover, let's say, like in b-boying. someone who is there for the highlights, who basically comes across best if he or she focuses on the highlights of his or her movement, you know. I'm thinking of Leto, for instance. I'm thinking of maybe Rubik's in a way, you know, of a few of the younger generation dancers. By having big moments and being able to use their bodies to certain extents, to the music, to whatever they create, you know, I guess their moments, that is the thing that hits you, that touches you. And you can find out if you are more of a essence mover, that is just, you know, where it's really about translating what you feel, or more so about building that story with highlights inside of it, because you really like to build anticipation to moments in the dance. And then you of course have, to me, what I call builders. Not a real phrase, not a real word, it's just what I call it. Builders to me are people who don't have a specific thing that they are good at, or that, you know, oh, this is what they did in this moment, in this round, that was the highlight, or, you know, this is the essence of one of their movements. That, no, they don't have that. What they have is that they can really string moments together. They can string movement together in such a way that, you know, it slowly builds and builds, and it just keeps going, and everything connects together. And so their whole round is their moment, is their beauty. You know, think of Alex, you know, of course he has his highlights, but it is definitely very much how he builds up, for instance, towards the highlights, or how, yeah, just how he builds up inside of the rounds completely. You know, it's not that you wait for a single moment and say, ah, this was it. You know, it is really the craftsmanship of building and building and building and dancing and making layers, basically, that is the thing that gets you, you know. And of course, there's many more types of dancers, or many more ways people express themselves in battles, you know. We could say musicality and people that focus on that is a specific aspect on its own, because right now there is several dancers who not per se use a technical approach to musicality, but more so just the musicality itself, right? So I just want you to hear the sound, or see the sound that we hear, as opposed to applying technique and movement to it. If I hear this, maybe I'll just do this and it's good enough. It's more of a character, as opposed to, let's say, a highlight dancer that would actually use a physical capability, a physical ability that is very difficult, or, you know, almost inhuman to obtain. Just using highlights through music can be very different, is a very different aspect of it, you know. It is a different way of moving. And so there is definitely a lot of difference there in how people approach their dance inside of battles. And I think that it is very good and very, yeah, just very healthy, nice for you to figure out what works for you. I don't know exactly how you can feel that out. I don't think a lot of people take the time to actually feel that out, as in, okay, this is who I am in a battle. That's not how people think. I believe it's just life, like how you are in everything that comes over into your dance. But I do know that there is a lot of people who want to get into battles and kind of don't know how to bring themselves in. They don't know, they don't have an identity yet in the battles, because they don't see what opportunities there are inside of it, you know, where they can excel in. Some people are still lost in the, oh snap, I'm not doing the highlights. While maybe that is not your thing, that is not your strength, you know, that is not how you see, how you hear, how you feel dance, then yeah, you should not try and become a highlight dancer, because that is not how you experience it, you know. And so in the end, it comes down to one simple thing. People need to learn to be themselves in battles. Absolutely, 100%. You need to be yourself. If you are a shy person and that is what you feel, you don't have to try and hide that you are shy and act like you're not. The act part has to just go out, you know. Be who you are. If you are very outgoing, outspoken, and you love competition and that's how you want to participate, that is exactly what you got to go for, because that is going to be so much, so true to yourself, or the most true to yourself, that is going to give you the best possible outcome. If you are more so an exchanger and it's not really, you don't really feel for like calling somebody out and saying like, that's a bite and all that stuff, then that is definitely not what you should fake. I've seen people in battle all of a sudden show up with this persona as if they're like, trying to show that they're better, while I know that that is a persona and it's not even needed to do that. But they think, oh, now that I'm battling, a battle means that you have to, have a certain attitude towards somebody, and you can, but you don't have to. It won't change the outcome of the battle. What changes the outcome of the battle is how you feel yourself and how you have placed yourself in that battle, giving you hopefully the best possible outcome for your own movement, basically. So that is definitely something to look out for, besides just practicing your techniques and your steps and your everything, because in the end, it is the personification of those steps that is going to actually win the battles. It's not the steps themselves. Everyone does the steps. Everyone does the running man. Everyone does certain concepts such as threading and tracing, but it's the persona, the person that makes it into something beautiful because of his or her experience with it, that then eventually makes it work in that way and makes it very creative. Yeah. Whew. So next aspect that I want to talk about is the possible criteria that you can face in a battle, things that people look for. Because when you participate in a battle, there is people watching you, there is judges who judge on criteria. They don't, even though people might think that, they don't just judge what I like. They always have a reason for why they make choices. And of course, people believe in a lot of politics and so on and so on. I've honestly myself never been in a position of, oh, I feel like, through politics, there has been made a choice that was, no. I've never even wanted to put myself in that position of thinking that way. Because it always was for me very simple. It is just about finding the reason why, and if I can still find the reason why, then I am able to take that into consideration, not to change it in my dance, but either know, okay, this is not what I want to go for, so I'm not going to dance for these people anymore because they look at things that I don't feel as valuable as they do. Or maybe, oh, this is something that I don't really value that much myself, but I really like having everything in my bag, having everything ready. So if you think that way, I will show you that way with my own sauce, because I feel comfortable doing that. So criteria that I myself look at is what I want to share with you, because of course I can't tell you what other people look at. Let's get into it. I've already done a video about this that is public, but I just want to go over it again a little faster because I know the video is already pretty long, and listening to me talk the whole time, whoo, you can imagine that you're done and you're pressing pause every now and then. So first of all, we start with, of course, the style that you have. So one of the most important criteria to me is foundation. It is, are you actually expressing and doing the style that you entered for, and with that comes, of course, the knowledge of it. From my side, the knowledge of the history of how the movements look like, what they feel like, to what music they were done, and those kind of things. But then also to be able to see how they can be translated in someone's creativity, because that should not be overshadowed. I don't want you to do the running man like he does, or I don't want you to do the woe like that person does, and that person does, and that person does. But if that essence is there, that's what we are looking for, or what I am looking for. Are you foundationally actually expressing the dance and the culture, the vibe, of course, in your own way? The second thing I personally look for is, of course, musicality. This is not in this order, it's just a few things. Musicality not meaning, are you separating the music properly and are you showing me all the instruments that are in the music, but are you actually, one, on beat, and two, in tune with the actual vibe of the music. So are you not just stuffing in movement that does not even fit with the music? Are you building a story together with the music, And with that, of course, comes the highlights there where they are, inside of the music. With that comes using the proper cultural movement that actually fits the sound, the feel of that music. That to me is more important than just the beat kills. To me, it's really important to be in line with the vibe and being able to tell a story with the music in your personal way. Yeah. And of course, in hip hop, that is also rhythmical. There's a lot of rhythm inside of hip hop that is very, very important. So we cannot overlook that. If you are only beat killing and you can't even express the rhythm of the music, then in my book, that is a minus point, because that is not the only thing that is inside of the music that you want to follow along with. Yeah, let me take my phone because I wrote a few things down, I hope, to make sure that I remember everything that I have on here. Then we have technique and maturity / maturity. What is that? So technique to me is how well you perform your movements, you know? You could kind of see it as experience in a way, you know. If I have done certain techniques or certain movements for a very long time, there's a lot of experience within that movement. And so for instance, if I see someone dance who does a certain step but only danced for 1 year, and then another person who does the same step but he has danced or she has danced for 10 years, you will definitely see a big difference in the movement, because the technique is just more marinated into his system. It is more mature, basically. And so that is something that I definitely look at myself. You know, how do you approach the technique, and is there a maturity inside of it? You know, is it embedded into you, or are you still kind of marking it and showcasing, you know, that you have it, as opposed to that it is you yourself? So yeah, that is one of my criterias as well. Let's see what else we got here. I'm just gonna keep this with me actually. Then we have character, personality. I already said a little bit of this in the previous ones, but to express yourself, to show who you are, your creativity, and make sure that any technique / foundation / whatever you're doing has your stamp on it is extremely important, because that is what makes the dance come to life. Let me just not go too far. Let me just keep it at that. The dance comes to life with your personality in it. Otherwise, it's empty. Like I already said, empty glass. You know what I mean. After that, not in that order, but the next one in the list for me is flow / continuity. And what I mean by continuity is continuity of your round. You could also call it story. So are you telling a story, not as in, am I drinking something and now it's in my stomach? No, not that kind of story. What I'm saying is your movement and your round following along a certain path, and is it leading somewhere? You know, are you actually connecting the dots, or is it, oh, I'm waiting and now I'm gonna do this highlight, and now I want to go to the floor, but I don't connect it at all. I just go bang, I lay on the floor, and now I'm gonna do my trick that I practiced for so long on the floor. You know, continuity is definitely something that is high, very high in my book, because it separates the craftsman from you know, the maybe one-hit wonders who have that one move that they practiced over and over again and try to win basically battles with those few moves. Whereas in my personal opinion, being able to make everything seamlessly connect together and then maybe having highlights inside of it is a much better skill to have in a way. I don't know if I want to say better, but it's more pleasant for me personally, because if I go to a movie and the movie is just highlights and the fights don't connect, and there's no story with, you know, this fighting scene that is happening and then that fighting scene, but there's no connection, and why are they fighting, you know, like what is, you know? So that randomness to me definitely takes away from the power of your round. Whereas with you, I have to judge you for your moments. With you, I can judge you for not just the moment, but for the entire thing that was happening. And so that huge, you know, yeah, just that huge round itself weighs way heavier than a single moment in a round. So that's why continuity for me is very important, slash story. And then lastly, it is, let me see, creativity, which comes back to your character, your personality, but this is more about how you use certain movements, how you express the music, what do you attach to it, like how does that music come into your body and how is it translated? Am I doing the step, normally, or am I actually changing it up and showing you something new with it, Am I evolving what I have learned? Am I evolving it into something new so that we can continue to build on? So creativity and showing things that are different, that are new, are definitely very important and deserve to be judged upon, because it takes a lot of skill to continue to move us as dancers forward. So those are some of my criteria that I look at. Indeed, you don't hear any battle judgment as in like, or criteria as in like, oh, you need to face the person you battle, or oh, you need to I don't know, be more aggressive and make sure that you are actually battling. No, because in the end, the battle is dance. It's a dance battle. So what you're trying to show and what you're trying to compete with is dance. So to me, you need to dance exactly the way you dance at your best. And if that is not through, building a fun conflict, you could say, then you should not do that, because that is not how you dance, So yeah, so that's my personal opinion on that. So hopefully that helps you in the long run in looking at your own battles, your own rounds, or anything you're gonna do with dance, and just maybe seeing certain things now that you haven't looked at before inside of someone's rounds, inside of dancers. And with that, yeah, hopefully either you grow from it by seeing things different, which also happened for me very much, or maybe you have something that you can play around with inside of the battles to see if that would actually change either the outcome or change your experience of a battle itself. Okay. Now, it is time to get to the last section, and I really hope that you guys don't mind this talking class. I hope that it is of value to you guys. I just felt like I wanted to have a sit down with you guys as opposed to giving you more new movements to work on, while there honestly is a lot that you can work on for a long time. I've been doing a lot of these things for 20 years. You're getting them in 30 days and now in a few months. So, there's gonna come more, but yeah, know that it's okay to take your time, So I hope that this helps you guys out, and I hope that you gain something from it. And of course, I would love to, especially now, hear your feedback and see how you perceive this set down class. The last section that I want to talk about is preparation for battles. So how do I prepare for a battle? So there's several different things that I take into account when I prepare for a battle. And I will just share some of the theories, you could say, we have built and we have practiced around, and then also some of the exercises. Theory number one that I want to start with is building your round, So in battles, you have 1 minute to tell your story, right? And like I said, continuation, of movement inside of that story is very important, so that you can really raise it up to a certain peak, like a movie. And so in 2011, I'm gonna try to not make this too long. In 2011, Dimension and I started looking and searching for ways to, become better battlers. Like, okay, let's make this an actual thing. Let's see it just like martial arts, where you have wisdoms on how to approach a fight. We're gonna have wisdom on how to approach a battle. And so the first thing that we noticed is that segmenting your movement in a battle, being able to understand when to go to your highlights, when to do your intro, and when to finish it off is extremely important. I talked about this and told you that there's 5 points that we were working on: our intro, our build-up, our main portion, our main chorus, where everything, our just normal dance is happening, our highlight, and our outro. Those were the 5 points we were working on and practicing with. Now I don't use them anymore. I still have my intros and still have my outros here and there, but I just move through them by feeling the music as opposed to by actually trying to always stick to this way of moving. But it is definitely a good way to start to practice segmenting your rounds. And so how you do that is this. Let's start with the intro. I'm going to skip everything else. I'm going to start with the intro. The intro is probably one of the most important things to have in your battle rounds, because the intro creates anticipation. The intro creates your relationship with the music, with your feeling, with how people perceive you. In the intro, everything happens, right? If the intro of a YouTube video is not interesting, people leave. If the intro of a video on Instagram is not interesting and the first 2 seconds are not interesting to you, you keep scrolling. And so the intro in your dance is very, very, very crucial for the rest of, for the energy that is being put out in the rest of the round, you know? And this is something that we have practiced endlessly. Intros, intros, intros. So this is a very old theory that I don't really practice anymore, but I used to practice, I believe, 3 or 4 types of intros. Intro number 1 was a groove intro. So in a groove intro, what I would practice is I would try to, I'm gonna stand and zoom out. So with a groove intro, what I would focus on is I would focus on trying to basically build a groove that to me fits the music, you know, that a vibe that fits the music that I can continue to layer on top of, right? So instead of going for my basic steps, which a lot of people do to build their rounds, you know, I would search for a groove that would already connect to the vibe, give me a head start, because the first groove I do is already more creative than what you started with. I know that's crazy, that's deep, but you could see it like that, you know, it would already give me a head start. That's how I thought about it back then. And it would help me to already get people into the round, you know, make them feel. I make you guys feel what I feel, get you into this vibe with me right away. And then from there, if I start moving into my build up with my dance and I continue to move to eventually my highlights, I already had you from the beginning, so I can take you in that story and can make you feel every aspect of it. So groove intros is one of the things that we would practice. I play a song, I take the first few seconds of the song, you want to count them out. It can either be 1 time 8, it can be 2 times 8, it can be 3 or 4. You know, it really depends on the song, but most of the times, if not always, it is definitely in 8 counts that you want to change your, I guess, section of movement, you know, the section of your dance, you know, or the phase, basically. The second type of intro that we was working with back then was the isolation intro. And this was just to create, I guess, a more interesting start to a round and showing, I guess, a bit of skill, and it had a bit of character. It's not really based on character, but it has some character to it because it's more animated, you know. It creates a little bit more of a, yeah, just a skilled vibe to it. So that is an intro that we would often work on as well. The third intro that we went with was musicality intros, meaning I would dissect the music in the beginning of the round, where I would still, so my intro would always be very close centered, where I would just focus on myself. I wouldn't be outgoing in my intro, because then my energy is high in the beginning of the round, and then in the middle I have to go higher, and then that's hard. So we started low so that people can get into it as well, you know. Not always, of course, like it really depends on what is happening and what is given to you in the round, music wise, or even from your opponent. You know, sometimes you have to start up high right away and then maybe slow it down afterwards and come back up. That's the that's the fun of battles. It's like a game, and you have to figure out, it's about figuring out which, you know, in which order you move and how it works for you best, and how it can maybe feed off of what is happening, you know. So the musicality intro was always based on trying to make sure that you, in the start of your dance, already lay the foundation of what you're going to use later on, right? So often people have this problem where if they would dance in a battle, they lose their ears. Basically, they don't hear anything anymore. They get lost in the moment, and it feels like there's this vacuum on your ears, and you can't really focus on the different sounds in the music. So we decided to work on our intros, or work on the music in the intros, and show different things of the music as opposed to the counts, where a lot of people start. We would not take the counts, and we would take the different sounds inside of the music to build our intro from. Sometimes I can look at the sound, I can bring the sound up, or I can just use my body to show the sound, in different ways. And that can then help me so that as I come further into my round and I'm in the middle of it, I've already laid that foundation for myself, and my body remembers all that stuff that was in the music. My body remembers, and so I can tap into it and catch it way better, or be a part of it way better than I could if I would just start off with like a bounce, not being able to, or not focusing on what is in the music at first. So that is the musicality intro. And then lastly, there's 5, okay, nice. Number 4 is the character intro. So the character or storytelling intro is based on just building character, building your persona in your round, so that people become a part of this beautiful, crazy story that you are going to make. And that can be a huge variety of ways. This can be a character that you have thought of with certain antics, with a certain vibe to it. Is he angry? Is he a rugged person, or am I more of a kind-hearted person? And is it just a vibe that I'm trying to show, that I'm trying to get into and play around with, gentle or very rough, that feel helps a lot also with building something, because your movement is then inspired not from the music and just your technique. It is inspired from you and the story, and then from that story you can start building, which gives a very fun, different angle to the battle, and so could potentially help you in your rounds. Story-wise, it could also be different. So if I don't focus on the character but focus on building character through story, maybe I open a door and my round is me opening a door and then closing it, bam, and that's where my dance starts. That can already do something for me. It was always about making sure that the intro was different from the mid section. Always something different in my intro, so that when I start and I dance, I don't repeat. I don't look the same. My story has different sections to it, so there is different things that can be judged, basically, and different feels I can experience. And the last intro, is the position intro. So this was very simple, just practicing different positions that we would start in. So I remember back in the day, I would, for instance, just take a simple position of just starting my round right here. And what it does is it helps me to not do the same again, not do my running man in the beginning, my running man in the middle, or my running man at the end. It just helps me to build from something. And honestly, intros create not just for the public something different, but it also creates it for me. As I start here and create something, now for some reason my mind is already in a different space. I placed myself elsewhere, so everything that I feel is in a different place, meaning that I already have put myself in a position of more creativity, and I feel comfortable there now, so I can tap into that again. As I am freestyling, I'm already in that feel, so it's easier to tap back into it and continue to build off of creative positions, creative ideas. Whereas if I, like I said, start very basic, it's easy to fall into that path, into that pattern of basic movement, and not being able to find my own peak where I can explode, explore, and find new things to do. So that is our perspective of intros, and how we used intros to help ourselves benefit in the round, and use intros to benefit from that later on in the round. From there, you have your build-up, of course, where you basically just lay the foundation of your own movement and kind of build that energy, that vibe for people. You have your main section of the dance where you really bring your musicality in, where you bring your creativity in, where you bring your energy to a certain level where everything can become a highlight, you could say, or where every story can be dived into deeper, you could say. You have the highlight where you really learn, or where you really practice or try to peak not just the story, but peak the intensity of your movement. So that is something that we practice as well, peaking, having a high intensity movement where a lot of things are happening and everything is with a high intense character and a high intense movement type to be able to tap into that if it would be needed, because sometimes it's not needed. And then you have your outro, where most of the times the same applies for the intro, but we often ended up going for a groove in our outro because that is something that brings people together. So let me tell you, for instance, how an outro could actually seal the deal in a battle. Let's say I did every step that I had to do. I make my highlight, and the highlight is fire. My round is almost over. Everyone is like, yo, that was dumb. Now, if I get to my outro and I dance and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm done. Cool, that is nice. But if I get to my outro and I did my peak, I did my move, boom, everyone is like, yo, that was stupid. And I'm like, right? If I do something like that, if I'm like, after that crazy ass thing that I do, what happens is it feels like a celebration and it feels like you can join in. And so that feeling of like, okay, he just, he's dancing it out, he's partying with us, that's fire. That feeling is something that we never forgot. Like, hey, that is something really dope that you can do for the outros to make sure that the outro works. And the outro still has its power and it's not like a fall off of energy where, actually doesn't even matter. I don't want you to look away until I'm done. Like I said, battles, it's a game. So I take my games very serious. And I don't want to, I don't always do this, by the way, just so you know. You can't look at all my rounds and see if I do all these 5 points, because I practice that at first and then let them go and just play around with it. But it is definitely things that you can take into consideration to see if there's parts where you do fall off in your round and you kind of lose the momentum, because this creates momentum. Yeah, so that is how we segment our rounds, how that works. Now, how you can practice this and how you can start working on making sure or learning how to segment rounds is by practicing changing movement in eights. That is one way. Changing movement in eights, or 4 times or /2 times 8. So what I want you to try to do is I want you to try to listen to a song and count the eights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Most of the times after the intro, after 2 times 8, you can hear there is an instrument that is being added into the song. Most of the time. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 1, but most of the times it's 2 times 8 where there's a new instrument added into the song to give it more body. And then after another 2 times or 4 times 8, there's another instrument or another element such as vocals added into it again. And that keeps happening. It keeps building or taking instruments out, putting them in and taking them out. And we use those 2 times to 4 times 8 to segment our movement and change our story a little bit, Sometimes we dig in the same story for a longer period of time, just digging deeper into it. Sometimes we change stories very quickly, but playing around with that, with the change of eights, is very, very valuable if you want to be able to bring across your story in battle. Because in battle, you got 1 minute to tell a story, and that story has to have a beginning and an ending. So if you segment them properly, it's easier for you to be a part of that story and to not get lost in what is happening. Okay. Another way to practice this is by, and maybe I'm gonna see if we can do something with that as well in the future. For now, I feel like if I would dance with you guys, it would be too much already. So I'm just telling you the exercises that I use to practice. Another one is, and this one is very interesting, and to me this is kind of a little newer. It is moving to a peak, or or to a completion of a story with the body parts. So I would separate the body parts into legs, into arms, into head and body, shoulders, head, body, and maybe hips, right? So this section. And what I would do is I would start with one part and have my intro, let's say with the arms. And then I would build with those arms, and I would search for things that I could do. I would just start my dance and create, right? And then as I would create, I would search for a moment where I felt like now I got to my peak, you know, and as I would get to my peak, that to me felt like a good peak. After I switched to my peak, I would switch the body parts to the legs. And now I start a story with the legs. And I search to get to a peak. Of course, I take my time. I let it build slowly. At first, it doesn't come so fast to get to those peaks. You want to really follow along with the story that you are creating, you know? And I would continue to move and search for something until I would feel, now I've got to the peak of my story of my legs, and then I would switch to the body. Finish the body, then I would switch to the whole thing. Legs, arms, legs, and the body and chest, head, and so on, you know? So it's 4 sections, and I would just continue to dance to try to get to those peaks, to a moment where I feel like, that's it. Now I got to my pinnacle moment, time for the next one. And that helps me to get my body into a certain, you could say, a flow wherein it can naturally do that, you know? And that eventually, of course, comes back into the battles when you do your intro, your introduction or your build-up, your midsection, and your highlights and outro, right? So that comes very handy because it helps you to basically build your movement, build your rounds in your dance, and build your story. So that is one thing that I would practice. Let's see what else. There's, I believe, one more thing that I wanted to tell you guys. I wanted to share with you. Yeah, last one that I want to share with you, the third one, is the practice of stamina. So I also would practice my stamina. And the way I would do this, and the reason why I would practice stamina, the reason is very simple. When you go into a battle, for some reason, even though it's 1 minute, the way you dance, it takes way more energy from you. I don't know why it is, and if somebody knows, I would love to hear a theory on that, because it's really interesting to me that whenever I dance freestyle in a cypher or anywhere else, I can go on for longer. And then when I'm in a battle, for some reason, I think it's maybe because of breathing, and the intensity of the muscles. It's probably something like that. It has to be something like that. But in a battle, you just run out of fumes a little bit quicker than you do in a battle, you know, in a cypher or your own home, you know. And so practicing your 1 minute rounds is probably one of the most important things you can do to prepare for a battle. To practice your 1 minute rounds. But the way I practiced it to make sure that I worked on my stamina, there's 2 types of stamina. You have your oxygen intake, and you have the stamina of your muscles. So the muscles can only take so much before, you know, they run out of strength. And then of course you have how much oxygen you can hold and take in and be comfortable with before you get tired as well, you know? I believe that was it. And so to practice the muscle stamina, because that's the one where I had the most problems with, what I did was I would do not jumping jacks, burpees. So I would take 1 hour, and in that 1 hour, I would do 10 burpees and then 4 battle rounds. Why 4? Because most battles, the final is 3 rounds. So I will do 4 to make sure that I'm always over what I need to be used to in a battle. 4 rounds. After I would do the 4 rounds, right away, I would go to 10 burpees. And the burpees did have stomach exercises in them as well. This is not to get muscles. This is not to, you know, this is just to tire myself to a higher level than I can in a battle so that my muscles are ready. The muscle fatigue I can take it. You know, I have a better endurance in that. So a full 1 hour, 4 rounds, then 10 burpees, 4 rounds, 10 burpees, 4 rounds, 10 burpees until the hour is finished. Then I would check how many rounds I did, and I would try to overcome that, or not overcome that. I would try to do better next time, basically. And I kept on doing that. So that is something that I did that has helped me tremendously, because it helped me with my intros, with building my rounds, with my 1 minute rounds, with getting tired and still moving forward, both physically, or at least, how do you say that? Muscle wise, and of course, stamina wise from the breath. If that is the right word. I can't find the words right now, but it's okay. I know you understand what I'm saying. And yeah, that is very useful. Basically, with something like that, what happens and what is really important is you build resilience for the battle. Because once you go into that battle and you have to do 1 round, 2 rounds, or 3 rounds, and that dancer is trying to beat you, you have, at least I had this mentality of, you know what, listen, you can do whatever you want, but no one has ever beat me as bad as I did. You cannot win against me in beating me, because I beat myself better. And I've been beating myself way better than you did. So you can do whatever you want, but you're not gonna win this. This is just not possible. I am not impressed, sorry. You know, so that vibe, that feeling, that confidence comes from putting yourself through more intense experiences than you are going to experience in the battle. And that is, I guess, the last piece of advice for people who would want to go into battles. It is to mimic, but also overthrow or overload yourself with an experience that you can take into battle that might be more to you in a certain way. And it doesn't have to be more difficult, but experiences build you. Experience builds your character, your personality, it's your experience, and that is what you take with you into the battle. So the more your experiences you build for yourself, may it be through friendships with friends, may it be through hardship, may it be through dance exercises, fatigueness, literally anything, that is what you take with you. That is your baggage. And as you go into the battle and you have that baggage with you, that is what's going to determine how you respond to the music, how you respond to people, how you respond to yourself, to anything, how you respond to the moment. And that is what a battle is. It is learning to not just accept, but to own the moment. And if you can do that 1 time, you can do that 2 times. Before you know it, you are owning not just a moment, you are owning your years, you are owning your life, and then eventually you are making something really, really beautiful that you can be proud of. And that is why battles can be very interesting if you can get into them. So I hope this was very inspiring, and at least, or inspiring, I hope this was informative to you guys. I hope you got something from it. I hope it's okay that I took a class to just talk with you guys, as opposed to taking a moment to really focus on some new movements. Of course, we're gonna continue. We got many more weeks to go, so it's gonna be just fine. I believe 8 more to go. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. I would love to hear what you would want me to talk about or do more in the classes, what you're interested in. I now tapped into threading, which you have asked for. I tapped into battles, which you have asked for. I have heard the others as well. I will try and see what I can do and which ones I feel that are in my personal, I guess, strengths, or in my skill set that I can share with you in a valuable way. And we'll try to always make sure that I give you something awesome, something valuable, and something useful. And with that said, I hope to see you guys in the next one. I believe next week, or I believe the week after that, because we'll see. I'll see you guys in the next week where the class is supposed to come out. And of course, thank you guys as always for being here. And I love to hear from you guys. See you guys soon. Happy practice.